Reddit Confession. Finding Myself. Chapter 1. The Silence of the House. The morning didn't begin with the smell of coffee or the familiar shuffle of footsteps in the hallway. It began with the creak of the front door. The clock read 8:02 a.m. In the stillness, the sound was too sharp, almost intrusive, as if the house itself wanted to announce, "She's back." Her heels tapped against the hardwood, unhurried, casual, almost smug. She was humming. The very same woman who, 12 hours earlier, had walked out with a bag, red lipstick, and a casual, "Don't wait up." Now, instead of warmth or routine, she was met with something unexpected. Not a greeting. Not the familiar clutter of home. But emptiness. A silence so stark it felt alive. The first thing she noticed. Things were missing. The couch was gone. The rug rolled away. The wedding photo that had always sat on the entryway table. Gone without a trace. She called my name once. Then again, louder this time. No answer. Only the steady hum of the refrigerator. And then, her eyes caught it. A letter. No envelope. No dramatic staging. Just a single sheet of printer paper, folded once, resting exactly where her coffee mug usually sat. The same mug she reached for every morning. 3 words opened it. "You finally won." Chapter 2. The night before. 12 hours earlier. The story was already unraveling. She stood in the doorway, dressed like she was stepping out of an advertisement. Perfume, lipstick, elegance sharpened to a point. Every detail screamed deliberate. I asked, half joking, half confused. "Date night." She tilted her head, eyes narrowing slightly, as if I were a child who didn't understand simple math. "No," she replied, already zipping her purse. "Just going to Grant's. I need a reminder of who I used to be." Grant. Her ex. The man she once swore left her emotionally drained. Now, suddenly, he had become a mirror she wanted to revisit. "Why tonight?" I pressed. She smiled, not warmly, not kindly, but with a spark of calculation. "Because I want you to know how it feels. Maybe next time you'll care before it's too late." And then she left. Just like that. No hesitation. No ring on her finger. Not even her phone charger. She walked out believing she controlled the damage, believing she'd set the terms of the game. What she didn't know, what she could never have imagined, was that the second the door closed, I didn't break. Not this time. No scrolling through old texts, no desperate calls to my therapist, no tears staring at the empty doorway. Instead, I moved. I unplugged everything. I cleared out drawers, emptied shelves, carried out my desk alone, scraping paint off the hallway wall in the process. The bedroom, though, I left untouched. Why? Because that was her space now. Let her keep the sheets that smelled like someone else. By 3:46 a.m., the last of my things were packed. I placed the folded letter in the kitchen, right where her mug usually rested. Then, with one last look at the darkened house, I turned off the lights. No arguments. No shouting. Just silence. The kind of silence that speaks louder than any fight. Chapter 3. The letter. Morning light spilled across the floor as she stepped inside, heels clicking with practiced confidence. For a moment, she must have thought it was all still hers. The house, the marriage, the control. But the air was different now. Gone was the couch where we once sat together. Gone was the rug that softened the living room. Even the framed photo of our wedding, the one that always greeted us by the door, had vanished. Her voice cracked the silence. Once. Then again, louder. My name. The house answered with nothing but the steady hum of the refrigerator. That's when she saw it. The letter. Folded once, sitting where her coffee mug should have been. So ordinary, so bare, and yet heavy with meaning. She didn't touch it right away. Her hand hovered, almost trembling, as if the paper might burn her fingers. This wasn't a note scribbled in anger, not some dramatic goodbye scrawled in ink. It was deliberate, clean, final. 3 words opened it. "You finally won." The rest, well, that would break her far more than the emptiness surrounding her. For the first time since she left, she realized she hadn't returned to a stage where the next scene would play out on her terms. She had walked into something else entirely. Not a fight. Not forgiveness. But absence. And absence, when it's loud enough, feels like a scream. Chapter 4. The Cracks. It's easy to point at one night, one decision, and call it the moment everything broke. But truth is, fractures had been running through us long before she left for Grant. I remember the first time I felt it. Not a fight. Not even an argument. Just a silence that settled between us, heavier than words. We were sitting on the couch, her scrolling through her phone, me staring at a muted television. Nothing was wrong, not on the surface. But it was like we'd both retreated to separate worlds, sharing the same space but not the same life. Later it was the little lies. I'll be home soon. Just working late. The battery died. Each one small enough to dismiss. But stacked together, they built a wall I could never climb. And still I tried. I made breakfast on weekends. Left notes in her car. Bought her flowers on random Tuesdays. And she would smile, sometimes even kiss me, but it was a smile that didn't reach her eyes, a kiss that didn't linger. It felt like trying to fill a well with drops of water, knowing it would never rise. I told myself this was marriage. That all couples fade, that real love is pushing through the dull days. But in the quiet of the night, when she turned her back in bed, I realized I was the only one fighting for something already gone. The night she chose Grant wasn't a betrayal born in a single heartbeat. It was just the final nail. Proof that the foundation had been hollow for longer than I'd allowed myself to admit. And maybe that's why, when I packed my bags, I didn't feel anger first. I felt relief. Relief that the pretending was finally over. Chapter 5. The Messages. The first message came an hour after she found the letter. Just 2 words. Call me. I didn't. Then another. We need to talk. As if talking had ever been her solution before. By noon, the tone changed. Guilt first. You're overreacting. It was one night. It didn't mean anything. Then, accusations. You've been distant for months. If you cared, you wouldn't just leave like a coward. Each notification lit up my phone as I sat in my cousin Miles' apartment, the dog curled at my feet, the world finally still. I read them all. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel the pull to defend myself, to argue, to beg for clarity. I let her words hang in the air, meaningless as smoke. By evening, the calls started. Her name flashing across the screen again and again, filling the room with a sound that once had the power to break me. But this time, I watched the phone vibrate, untouched, until it silenced itself. Miles looked at me, half expecting me to cave. But I just shrugged. Not tonight, I said. Because I finally understood something. Her reaching out wasn't love. It wasn't regret. It was control slipping from her hands. And she was clawing to get it back. Chapter 6. Reclaiming. The first morning after leaving, I woke up to a quiet I hadn't felt in years. No arguments, no veiled accusations, no sharp tones slicing through the air. Just the sound of Baxter stretching at my feet and the soft light spilling through the window. I took him for a long walk, deliberately leaving the past behind with every step. The streets were quiet, the world blurred by the drizzle that had begun overnight. For the first time, I wasn't looking over my shoulder. I wasn't waiting for a message, a text, or the guilt-laden look she might send. I was just moving forward. Back at Miles' place, I pulled out my sketchbook, something I hadn't touched since before the marriage started to feel like a cage. The pencil scratched across the paper, clumsy at first, then flowing as the familiar motion reminded me of who I used to be. The small, quiet victories began to add up. Making my own coffee in the morning, savoring the ritual, reading books I'd abandoned years ago, playing video games in silence, just laughing with Miles like we did as kids. It wasn't about impressing anyone. It was about rediscovering myself. Bit by bit, piece by piece, I was becoming someone I hadn't seen in a long time. Whole, grounded, free. Even when messages from her came, short, cold, trying to provoke a reaction, I didn't engage. Because the game had changed. I wasn't a pawn anymore. I wasn't a reflection.